Electricast.
Last week on Ghost Hampton, Silk barges into Lyle's room, super angry at him. She's learned that Lyle has been hiding important details like Georgie's harassment and Mateo's flight home. Mateo then appears at the bar with late Glenn's sad last letter to Lyle. Silk pounces, but Mateo escapes in a waiting car and she is beyond pissed at Lyle.
Interior, Berto's limo office, continuous. Berto Penna is playing with his new AR-15 Star rifle. He has a saucer on his desk. It bears 3 white mountain ranges and a straw fashioned from a fresh $100 bill. Alert to the point of fidgety, Berto is staring out his office window at Detective Georgia Hall's parked car. Then a sports car kicks up dust, abruptly pulling into his gravelly parking area. He carefully places his saucer out of sight in a desk drawer. Chantale must not see he's sampling what he's selling. He stands his AR-15 in a corner, out of view. Chantale enters the office. She's dressed in her classic Tina Turner look, but tonight's not a work night. She walks up to Berto and, in her heels, he has to look up.
Moving the merchandise tonight?
Yes, of course, a lot.
Mundo and Ruben.
Yes, the best men for making a run to Manhattan.
You expect $65,000.
Berto grows slightly uneasy, and Chantale picks up on that.
Berto, $65,000, correct?
Yes, Chantale, 65,000.
Chantale narrows her eyes and crosses her arms.
Money like that goes to our new house, and nowhere else.
Of course.
You know it's now time in my life to have children, if I ever will.
Berto nods silently, searching her eyes. Chantale's right index finger rises to Berto's facial injury, the knife wound, and her fingernail traces it. He winces, but does not recoil. Chantale's fingernail slips down his throat and pauses to fondle the gold amulet, the ugly demon head that she hung around his neck.
So you should know that I am off contraceptives. No more pill.
Berto's jaw drops and he breathes through his mouth.
The only way, right?
She steps away from Berto and he just stares at his private Tina Turner. A strange smile crosses Chantale's lips, but her eyes remain unsmiling.
You should want children of your own, a successful businessman like you.
She steps to the office door.
Berto, I'm going out clubbing in Southampton tonight with my girlfriends. I need you to be a good boy and stay and do your job well.
Chantale makes a cruel smile and opens the door.
If you are a good boy, you can be sure your children are your children.
She exits and the office door closes. Berto's head is now reeling. Besides all the cocaine running around his brain, he's got a bitch cop parked outside every night watching him. He's got a woman he's obsessed with wrapping him around her finger, and he's shaved too much coke off the top of tonight's delivery to Manhattan. Half of that is already up his nose. When the customer weighs it, they'll know. At least he didn't cut it with powdered sugar. Berto watches Chantale peel out in her sports car, leaving Georgie Hall's parked car in the dust. Taken together, the two women, so different, make him crazy. Now, with only a Southampton police detective outside, Berto retrieves his dish of cocaine and goes to work on another mountain range. Following a series of loud, racking sneezes, Berto hefts his new automatic rifle and perches his bony butt on the edge of his desk, loading the weapon. And he thinks about the man who used to wear Chantale's amulet. Sabado was the mejor hombre of the limo business, whose side hustle, drugs and women, became the real moneymaker over the years. With success, Sabado grew grossly overweight. He lost any good looks he had to age and fat, and he had to find ways to satiate his appetite for girls and boys, the younger the better. Chantale believed the amulet she'd given Sabado was all that was left of any powers he ever had. Without that amulet, she convinced Berto, the handsome young man that Sabado once loved, he could take over. It happened, as planned, one night in a swamp behind the Big Duck, an egg-selling roadside attraction in Flanders. Sabado was still in that swamp today, having been stuck with his own knife, and Berto bore the fresh scar. Intense pressures build up within the young man. Cocaine would be the last thing to relieve such pressure, but another jagged line of white powder shot up both his nostrils. A moment later, more huge sneezes. Georgie could hear them out in her car, and she knows it's not flu season. His hand shaking, Berto raises his rifle to his eye and points it out the window at the detective in the unmarked car, her face illuminated by her laptop. Interior, Georgie's police car, continuous. Sun's going down and Georgie cannot see Berto clearly in his darkened office. But she can put two and two together. She dials her phone. Big Frank picks up.
Yo.
Frank, I think something's up with Berto, the whoremaster.
Scarface? What's he doing now?
Sneezing.
Arrest that man.
I mean it. Heavy-duty sneezing, shortly after his sleazy girlfriend left.
Oh. Tina Turner?
Frank, must you name everyone after a pop star?
It does brighten my day. So you say there's a cause and effect?
I do. Look, this is not a nice woman we're talking about.
Despite her uncanny resemblance to...
She only stayed a couple of minutes, then stalked out and sped off in her little Beamer.
Then the sneezing. I don't know, ma'am. Hard to prove a crime from where you sit.
Well, I've got a feeling he'll be out here chit-chattering again tonight.
Maybe he has a weakness for scary women.
Georgie harumphs.
Okay, I get it. Listen, please call me the second he rears his pretty little head. I'm out east tonight, but I'll get people over there in a minute.
I can do that too, Frank.
But you have to go through Sergeant Swan Song. I don't.
Interior, the tap room, soon after. Lyle, now pretty loopy, is at Rooney's bar on the phone with Noah Craig. The TV crew is almost ready to commence shooting the next installment of Silk series.
Remember Becky and I fighting you tooth and nail in court cases, trying to save heritage properties with our limited legal budget?
Noah.
For 3 decades.
Vaguely.
Well, you shouldn't be surprised we were still working together to save that pre-Revolutionary War barn.
Noah, please.
And we were overdue for a win in court. And you could have responded to any of our texts to be brought up to speed with negotiations.
True, I am unresponsive. These are unusual times.
And you never got me inside Old Vic. Now there are big dumpsters on the property with the backhoe.
Sorry. But you get to keep the barn as a booby prize. But that's a bad place. Even more haunted.
So, you still want info about the ownership of 111 Poplar, a.k.a. Old Vic?
Lyle waits expectantly.
There are no records of past ownership. The township has enforced eminent domain. No one alive wants to claim ownership, especially given its checkered past.
Damn.
Until you go way back.
Way back?
Before Old Vic was built, there was a sea captain's home on that property, which included the old barn. That house, dating back before the Revolutionary War, was owned in the 1820s by a sea captain, Cyrus Milford.
Are you reading from your history book?
There's a salient detail. I found microfiche in the Bridgehampton Library. It has a news story dating back to the New York State's total abolition of slavery, July 4th, 1827, decades before the Civil War.
Microfiche?
Old school archival methodology, film containing micro photographs of the pages of a newspaper that can be enlarged and read. They didn't archive newsprint.
Got it. You study old stuff.
Captain Milford died in the early hours of July 4th in a fire that engulfed his house. The accelerant was household whale oil. Story says the charred remains of Milford and his wife, Goody Milford, were in the rubble. It was believed there was a struggle. Outside, police found the body of a black man with shackles on his ankles and wrists. He'd been shot in the chest and shoulder and had multiple lacerations.
The captain had a slave?
No, Milford had crushing debt. A known drunkard and a gambler, he could not pay the debt on his ship, the Harrier, nor on his house, which was being repossessed. The boat burned that night, too. Milford was the suspected arsonist. It's believed that boat still had former slaves aboard.
Milford was running slaves?
He was. But it was suddenly illegal. The police chief made a statement that the body found on the property may be that of a man who somehow survived the sinking of the Harrier and followed Milford home.
For a chat with the old drunk.
Right.
Quite a story. So
what does a man like you do with a story like that? Well, you learn that everything comes from some predecessor. Old Vic did not beam down from an alien ship. It was built on property that already had Bad
Mojo.
Precisely.
Well, you and Becky just inherited that damn barn and all that entails. I've been in there, Noah. It's a bad place.
Someone on set is calling out,
Mr. Hall! Lyle Hall on the set!
You're being paged.
They're shooting another segment with me.
Poor bastards. You know, you don't sound too good, Lyle.
Noah is right, of course. Lyle has been drinking scotch throughout his conversation with the historian, and Rooney came by to provide a refill. He's starting to sound bleary.
Yes, you are correct, sir.
Well, try to keep it brief, Lyle.
I'm planning to leave them hungry for less of me after this. A lot less.
That's a plan?
It's contract breaking time. Listen, you tell Georgie I'm breaking my contract, okay? On air, okay?
I take it you're not speaking. Again?
Again, a frustrated voice can be heard.
Mr. Hall, Lyle Hall on the set.
And tell Georgie that her dad loves her. Very much. And be careful.
Who, me?
Not you. Georgie.
Noah hears the rough sounds of a telephone being taken away. Interior, taproom TV interview set, continuous. Rubber-legged by now, a woozy Lyle is frog-walked back to his chair in front of the cameras by Chad and another young guy. The TV lights are blinding. They seem to rotate around him. He glances to his left and sees Silk already seated, no doily. She's not looking at her notes. She's looking at Lyle, her eyes turned to slits, a cruel curve to her upper lip. Lyle feels a chill. This interview will be much weirder than the first. He turns to his right, and a strange woman is taking Flo's old seat. Exotic and tall, she's a vision of stately Caribbean beauty. Wearing a long satiny dress the color of sea foam, her matching head wrap makes her even taller. She has a smooth cocoa complexion and a long graceful neck that suggests Nefertiti to Lyle, recalling his art history through a boozy haze.
Lyle, meet Aiko. She's an expert in the paranormal all the way from Haiti.
Lyle feels a cold stab through his innards. What little he can tell in his weakened state is, this woman is here to chew him up on camera. Aiko turns her head to face Lyle. Her demeanor is haughty, almost imperial, like she's a descendant from a long line of Caribbean queens. Her high cheekbones are complemented by generous lips accented with red gloss. They do not smile.
How do you do?
Aiko looks past Lyle to Silk.
This the man?
Silk nods and Aiko locks onto Lyle's eyes with a withering stare.
Lyle Hall. Lyle Hall, yes. A lot going on in there.
Aiko looks down at Lyle's right hand. He holds a glass of scotch. Josh and the crew are way past trying to make Lyle conform. They couldn't corral Father Mateo, so they're going with what Silk calls video verite.
Lyle, Aiko is a paranormal expert professional here from Haiti.
Is she up to speed with what's been going on here?
Of course she is, Lyle.
Are you going to eulogize Flo?
A video montage honoring Flo is ready for air. And don't presume to tell me how to do my job. You are the inexperienced one on the set.
Josh, behind the camera, begins to bark orders. Lyle muses on a sad truth. Matteo Sherry was the interview subject they wanted tonight. Lyle was the lure to get him in the bar. Lyle flashes on the young priest's good looks and the guilty pleasure his mostly female following must get from ogling him. Now Silk is struck with Lyle. To make good television out of his appearance, he surmises they're going to, what's that old phrase his father used? Oh yeah, make mincemeat out of him.
Hi, it's me, Flo. Remember me from Ghost Hampton, the podcast? I was secretly in love with Lyle Hall. Well, now I'm dead and loving it. But let's talk about you. If you loved listening to Ghost Hampton, you can now spend the summer in the Hamptons. The original episodes are back, and now new episodes will be dropping every Friday. I may drop in too, just to make Lyle feel guilty. Ghost Hampton, the podcast, is now streaming everywhere.
Hi, I'm Geraldine Glass, and I'm excited to share a new healing music offering, an extended version song called Joy Reboot, a unique fusion of pop, classic, rap, soundscapes, and funk to inspire collaboration and bring unity through sound. For us, Joy Reboot is music medicine, out now with Electrocast Records.
Electrocast.